All right, I'm good. All right, cool. This is just a microphone check. We're just checking to see if the microphone works. Howdy, howdy. My name is Josh.
Call sign Brokeback. Howdy.
What's up? Cheers.
Cheers. Slancha.
Prost.
Welcome back, everyone. It's a new day.
It is, in fact, a new day. We didn't do batch recording yesterday.
Nope. We're going to try to avoid that as much as possible.
I feel like doing like 6 episodes in a row could be fun.
It could be fun. I might kill you by the end of it, but that's also an option.
I feel like if you could stand 27 hours in a car with me, you could definitely do like 6 hours of recording.
I was asleep for a lot of those 27 hours, though. We did alternate.
Yeah, I wasn't.
Fair.
But yeah, what's up, guys? I'm glad to have you join us back for this great conversation.
Memorial Day weekend.
It
It's my wife's birthday today.
is, in fact, his wife's birthday. Shout out Miriam.
As part of her birthday present, I'm letting her take a nap today.
As part of her birthday present, I am not inside the house.
So not a lot to catch up on since yesterday was.
Nothing
the last
has
episode we
changed.
recorded.
Nothing has changed. Maybe went to mass this morning.
Great homily.
Slept. Yeah. A little bit of heresy in the homily, but that's
Okay.
expected on Trinity Sunday.
There's no good way to describe the Trinity to lay people, especially people who aren't catechized properly.
No, but
That is neither here nor there. What we're here for is to ask the question.
what if we went to a UFL game?
Yes.
I think it's so interesting that we came up with the idea of the name being "What If We," because how many times have I just sent you a text message, or like was like, "Hey, what if we did this?"
And usually it's like, what if we went to this? And it was usually a UFL game, Mud Hens game, Tigers game, whatever. That's a lot.
Yeah.
A lot of our time is.
What if we played D&D? What if we watched a movie? I think that's just such a seminal question. So when we talked about like, what if we went to a UFL game? Kind of prompted by like a growing affection we both have now for like sports.
Because I was never a big sports guy growing up.
I
like the Tigers when they were good, and that was about it.
I wouldn't say I was either. I mean, my family, like, we would go and watch sporting events if we had tickets,
Mm-hmm.
but it wasn't like, we were like actively seeking it out. My dad always usually had like, college football on, college baseball.
My dad was. We're from Michigan, so college football was really more important because the Lions for a long time sucked.
Yeah.
But yeah, we went to Tigers games a couple times, maybe once a year or every other year. Nothing too regular.
Yeah. Been to like a Houston Astros game. High school football, very big in Texas, so I went to pretty much.
Wasn't all football kind of important in Texas?
Yeah, but like high school football like has a different culture. Like, I mean, you could talk about the 3 levels,
Mm-hmm.
and now we could even talk about like this difference in UFL. Like high school football, I mean, in Texas is like a whole affair. I mean, you have, people who have been playing their whole life to try to get to that point.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a little bit different since moving to Michigan and now working in a Catholic school and observing. Okay, we're not going there. Working at a Catholic school and seeing like
Where
the
sports
football,
is.
the football culture is huge there. One of the things I noticed is like the band doesn't travel to every football game. I was like, that's so weird to me because like growing up in high school band, we went to every single football game. That was great. That's really where I started to like sports.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for me, I never got in, like the way I got into like pro sports was through fantasy football. I was working at Buffalo Wild Wings. I was doing fantasy football with some of the Fishers, and this I was like, I should probably like get into it a little bit more. So I just picked I picked players based on numbers. I just used my math brain. I averaged like right in the middle. But I picked a bunch of Lions because no one was picking the Lions. Like, guys, I've heard some good things about the Lions, and this was like 2 years ago. And then last year,
a great year last year.
Oh,
but
robbed. We were robbed.
Yeah, we'll talk maybe about that come fall.
But
we talk about.
But that's really where we got into like what like. Even my wife started like watching the Lions, like because they've been doing so well.
Yeah, it really did become like almost like a Sunday tradition for us.
Yeah.
Like even when I'm living in Jackson, I'd come down. You'd be like, "Hey, we're gonna watch the Lions game," stuff like that. You know, it became like a fun way to spend our Sunday afternoons. But I think like one of the things that like I've never liked televised sports.
Mm-hmm.
Not because I didn't like sports, but because I was like,
The atmosphere is not
it's
there.
different. And so then when we were like talking about summer plans, what we want to do this summer, like it was like, well, the UFL just started.
They just had the merger over the past year.
Yeah, the XFL and the
USFL.
USFL. So,
So,
and we were both like, huh, I wonder how much tickets are. Because we went and watched a game, not a Lions game, but we watched the
high school championship.
high school state championship. And I had even watched a game earlier than that in, Ford Field. And it was great. I loved.
Yeah, I mean, I've been to Ford Field a handful of times for like concerts and things or like big events. Like I was at Solana's Casey's beatification there. And it's a great stadium, but Lions tickets are like $200 minimum.
Yeah, they're getting expensive now
because they're good. They used to. I remember there was a weekend where we almost went to a Lions game as a kid because they were literally giving away tickets at the door because they wanted people to fill the stands. That's how bad we were doing.
That's awesome.
We didn't get to go, unfortunately, but like that was the reality of it. And then we looked at the UFL game tickets, and you were like,
"Dude, they're like $20."
Yeah, I think it's like $25 for our seats, and we were like,
right on the not on the 50-yard line. We were like the 30-yard line.
Right on the 30-yard line, like 5 rows up though. Like
it was great. I mean, great seating. You know, we got a few of our other friends who lived in the area together.
Yep.
And I mean, yeah, it was a whole experience. I mean, like going to a live sporting event is such like it's an atmosphere.
It's like we just went to the Tigers game on Friday.
Yeah.
And like our seats weren't awesome, or like they weren't supposed to be awesome. They were perfect. We were right on the first baseline, all the way in the outfield though. It was great. It's
had a clear view. There was nobody sitting in front of us.
Buy me some peanuts and Cracker Jack. Like that's literally how it felt for the Tigers game. But when we went to the UFL game, it was fun because we had gotten everyone together to watch the NFC Championship for the Lions. Like Abby, she's a Packers fan, so rest in peace her soul. But like we just got a bunch of people together who are like, even if they're not a big sports fans, they're like, let's go have a fun.
Yeah, and I think everybody had a great time.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I think you and I found most interesting was like the UFL rules. I don't think we saw as much of it in this game.
Mm-hmm. There were definitely some noticeable differences, and I think the interesting thing about it is that the NFL is adopting some of those rules for the upcoming season.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll look this up. We brought obviously the setup's a little different. We got a table out here. We got laptop.
Yep. We're really classing it up for you.
We'll have some additions to this at some point.
As we go on, we'll add more and more to it.
Maybe do some reaction content and stuff like that as well.
Once we figure out get it to play on there and here, but
what we'll do is we'll play it on the laptop.
Yeah.
And then when we go in to do the editing, I can edit in.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to do that.
I've got software.
But as you can tell, we're big on no edits, no cuts. Just do it.
Just do it. So, one of the things I think was the most interesting rule that I saw was the PAT.
Mm-hmm.
So normally, NFL, you go and you kick an extra point or wherever.
Or you do another play to...
Yeah, you do a
two-point conversion.
So here, there is no kick.
Yep.
After a touchdown. You either run... You
can play from different distances.
You either do a scrimmage play from 2, 5, or 10, and depending on where you do it from, different point. So like if you do it from the 2-yard line, the runner pass play, it's 1 point.
Okay.
5-yard line, it's 2 points. 10-yard line is 3 points. I think that adds a new dynamic to the game. Because no longer is it just a back and forth. Now you've got to start thinking strategically.
And it's no longer just a simple, like, okay, clearly they're going to get 7 points. Because I think you can count on one hand the number of times an NFL kicker is going to miss the extra point, like just the extra point.
Mm-hmm.
Because what distance do they do the, if they're going for 2-point conversion, are they right on the line or?
Let's look that up.
Or maybe like 2 yards or 5 yards? Because that was the thing that I loved watching.
So 2-point conversion. 2-yard line in professional American football.
Okay, so for there, it's 2 points. Or what in the UFL is just 1 point.
Yeah, so I mean, well, that's because they're not doing the extra kick, right?
Yeah,
the extra point kick. So now they've added this dynamic of like, well, do we go from the 2, basically guaranteed points? If you're going to do like something like a
tush push,
brotherly
shove, if you will,
brotherly shove. But now it's like, okay, or do we go for 5? And it's interesting, like watching the dynamics of it.
Because I don't think we saw a single 10-yard attempt.
I don't think we
almost
did.
all of them were 5-yard. I think there's 1 or 2 that were from the 2
Yeah,
point.
I mean, so
for the 2-yard for the 1 point.
I mean, even if I go here, because I've got the play-by-plays of everything listed up. So, on one of the touchdowns that happened in the 4th for the Panthers, they did go for a 2-point conversion attempt, but they failed.
Yes,
so that means they went for 5. They went for 5 on another one, and this was for the Renegades. The Renegades went for a 1-point conversion attempt, succeeded. So we've seen at least a 1 and a 2. I don't think we saw a 3.
I don't think we saw any 3s. The interesting thing about this setup is you would think the role of the kicker is diminished then, because when we'll talk about it in a second too, they also have the different kickoff rules.
Yeah, I mean, so the kickoff rules, and this will be something that's actually coming into the NFL.
A variation of it, yeah.
Well, they moved the kickoff back.
They moved back, and like the blockers are closer together.
Yeah, I think that's just how you want to do it. So it says here, kickoffs will look more like traditional college NFL kickoffs, but take place from the 20-yard line of the kicking team. So normally, I mean,
you're at the
kickoffs are taking no. So the new kickoff rule is that it's going to be at a 20-yard line. But I think traditionally it was, like 30, 35 was where it started. And I think the reason why they're moving it back is so that way you can actually have a kickoff where a team is going to have to return it.
Yeah, because what we saw for the entirety of the NFL season was they would just fair catch it, take it to the 25. Fair catch it, take it like whatever the number is. They would just call fair catch every time. I think I saw 3 or 4 actual kickoff returns.
Yeah,
because of how good kickers are now. Kickers can kick the ball right to the end zone. So by changing that, it makes sense, and that's what they were doing. And they're taking that from the UFL.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot of the rules stay the same. Touchback rules 25 yards.
Yep.
So if it's going to go through the end zone, if a kickoff is out of bounds, they will be given the possession to the receiving team 30 yards from the spot of the kickoff. So that means the 20-yard line, or at the spot where the ball went out of bounds. So now you have a decision to make of, well, can my kicker get it a reasonable distance? If not, I could at least put him at the 50.
Yeah.
Now, how likely is it? I mean, they're still professional football players.
And this is the thing that I thought was cool. Like I was saying, you'd think the role of the kicker is diminished because they're just there for kickoffs and the occasional field goal, like the 3-point. But those because of the I don't want to say dynamic, but because of the reality of the skill level of these players, they're still professionals, but they're not quite NFL material. More plays are not sloppy, but plays get messed up, and you have to go for the 3-point slot more. And you see these field goals, they were.
I mean, one of them was drilled from over 60 yards.
I think there were 2.
Well, so I know that at least the last one. Oh no, that was a 42-yard attempt.
Yeah, that was right with it. Like they had a great drive to get in within that 40 range, but. The kicker for the Panthers, Bates, he's known throughout the UFL for having the best leg. I think he's only missed 1 field goal this entire season.
Yeah, I mean, everything was at least over 40 yards.
He had a couple of 60-yarders that game.
I'm looking to see. We've got one here that's 29-yard.
I know as a general rule, he has kicked 60-yard field goals almost every game. And this
there's nothing that's listed as a 60-yard field goal. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but everything that I'm seeing on the website.
Yeah, but I know he has. In other games he's recorded that, and that game he scored probably 12 points,
something like that.
Yeah, I think he had 4 field goals. So like he was. I mean, he's the one who for reference, we were at the Michigan Panthers versus Arlington Renegades game, and we took it down to the wire. Literally 2 seconds left on the clock, and we were down 20. Was it 25-27?
Yeah.
And he kicks a field goal to send us through.
And the absolute amount of pandemonium that set in.
And it was a really packed game. Like, it wasn't a Lions pack.
Well, the weekend we went on was child weekend, so it was like family weekend. So some stats on this particular player. 18 field goal attempts. So obviously the UFL is first year, so they don't have stats for anything prior than 2024. But 18 field goal attempts, 15 field goals made.
Wow.
So he's got an 83 percentage, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
0 blocks. Longest field goal, 64.
Yeah.
It's crazy. 45 total points he has contributed to his team.
Yeah. Man is a machine.
And
just watching him practice on the sidelines, like just booting it into the net.
Oh yeah, I mean when he was doing practice or warm up at halftime and stuff like that. I mean he was kicking it from 60 plus
every time.
So another interesting rule. I don't know if we even saw this. Was the alternate possession option.
I don't think we saw anything like that.
So while onside kicks are allowed at any time during the game, the teams will have an alternate option to retain possession in the fourth quarter. If a team is tied or behind during the fourth quarter, it may elect to retain possession after a score with a 4th and 12 from its own 28-yard line.
Interesting.
So now you've got the heights that are like, I mean, and if you're going to go for this, obviously you're not going to punt then on a 4th and 12. Yeah. You're going to be pretty confident, but the risk is very high.
Oh yeah.
Because now you're giving them to them on their own 20, 28. They're going to.
Yeah, I would love to see that at some point.
Yeah, totally. Another interesting rule: 2 forward passes. So teams will be allowed, as they were in both leagues last season, to throw 2 forward passes on one play. The ball cannot cross the line of scrimmage at any time prior to the second forward pass being thrown. So in essence, it's a type of flea flicker.
Yeah.
But in most football, you can't
just lateraling it.
Yeah, instead of doing a backwards lateral or a neutral, now you can have a type of forward lateral, but it has to be done behind the line of scrimmage. So I can do a forward, quarterbacks in the shotgun or whoever's going to get the snap.
Yep.
They can do a forward lateral a yard or so,
and then
whoever gets the ball could. And so it adds this extension to the play. It adds
more depth to the play, and it adds more variety because. That was my biggest gripe with football when I was growing up watching was, well, there's only so many plays they can run. Because prior to MCDC, king that he is, trick plays weren't that big. Like they were in the NFL, but everyone was like, oh, fundamentals, let's just do it the right way each time. And then you got Dan Campbell said, they think they got bigger balls than me. We're going for it on 4th and 12. Or we'll do a fake punt pass on our own 20-yard line and make it. Things like that.
Yeah.
And so just seeing this level of depth that they can do in the UFL, I'm hoping that some of these rules will get transferred up to the NFL. I mean, we already saw they changed the way they do the kickoff.
They're going to change the way they do the kickoff. I think another interesting rule, and I'd be intrigued to see this, is the replay reviews. We saw this a few times.
Yep.
And so it's done at a secure location. If there's going to be a review,
it's like a central location. I think it's like New York or something.
Which I think is so fascinating. And really, there's only one UFL game a weekend.
Yeah.
Which means all the attention is focused on that one game. Well, which is how you can do something like that.
That's not. They have them all weekend, but they're spread out more than the NFL because there's only 8 teams.
Yeah, that's true.
So there's only 4 games happening at any given time, but they're never at the same time, and they're usually like a morning on Sunday, evening on Sunday, morning on Saturday, evening on Saturday.
Yeah.
So they're spread out enough that there's only one game going on at a time. And they did the review. They literally basically Skyped. It's the only thing I can think of. The video called them in and they said, this is the ruling, this is why we're saying it, seeing this. And they're using electronic tracking on it.
Yeah, so they've got a tracker in the ball
to tells you exactly what the yardage is.
Yeah, which is also fascinating because you're seeing, a lot of these things, a lot of the technology being applied to this to make what I find to be, in some ways, a more accurate game when it comes to where's the ball fallen.
Exactly. And they were talking about this on the New Heights, a rival podcast to ours.
Okay, calm down.
But no,
definitely not.
Not even close. I'm kidding. But no, they were talking about this. They're like, like why do we still use the chain gang? Why do we still use, it's because people love the suspense. Because at the end of the day, football, sports, it's an entertainment industry.
Oh yeah.
So they want to get, sure, we've had like electronic tracking in the ball for a while. They've had it. They've had access to it to use it. They just weren't using it because what's more exciting than bringing out the chain gangs, like measuring the ball tightly in chain. There was that one time where the ref brought out a note card to see if it would, because it was so close. Like, does it touch? Does it touch? Does it touch? Like, it's entertaining as hell, but it's also frustrating as hell because you know that humans make errors.
Yeah, and so there's this element of like applying the technology to the game, and then obviously like this league is owned by the one, the only Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and so the advertisements were all centered around that, and things of that nature. So getting to watch professional sports in a live atmosphere, I mean on top of the ridiculous prices for food and parking, all these things, I mean we had a great time.
I loved it, and the way when people are asking me like, why are you going to UFL game, I said, well, because NFL tickets are $200.
Yeah.
And college football, the thing I don't
still can be that much.
It can be, it very much can be. And I used to work at the Michigan State games for customer service, so I got to watch half the game for free. After I did work in the first half, watching college football for me, it was always annoying because it just felt, I don't know, it wasn't like good enough football. After watching the NFL, you see the college football, and again, I know they're college kids, not professionals. They have other things they're doing, but just if I'm going to watch people play a sport, I want to see the best. I want to see them be amazing at it. And when I watch college football, it ended up being kind of sloppy or messy. Or if you're, a rough season for a team, it just spirals out, and there's no coming back from it. And professional football, they can, they're still good players. Even on a bad team, they're still good players. They have good plays being made.
Yeah,
for the most part. So watching college football, if you aren't recruiting enough people, you could have a couple really bad years.
Yeah, and I mean, there's a whole like I think I actually enjoy college football more than the NFL because I do think that there is more of a, I don't know, maybe this is like I like the story and the intrigue and the building that dynasty.
That's fair.
And with players who are only going to be around for 4 years.
That's a fair.
It changes the whole dynamic of the game. I mean, you look at this will be the first year in however many years where you will not have Nick Saban coaching in the NCAA.
And you're not sad about it at all.
No, but can you imagine how much that's going to change college football?
Well, it's just like when
like
Jim
Harbaugh
being there.
Leaving.
Jim Harbaugh moving up to the
like that changes everything about Michigan football.
Yeah, he's been the center pillar, and I mean I don't blame him for wanting to move on after all the crap that's happened.
But that doesn't happen as much as in the NFL because you have, I mean, Andy Reid started out recruited Jason Kelce to the Eagles, but it's not like what happens sometimes in college football where players will follow coaches.
True.
Here, it's like Jason's like, I signed with the Eagles. I'm staying with the Eagles.
Yep.
You sign to the organization. You don't sign to the coach.
Yep.
And like
especially with how much coaches can switch.
Yeah.
You have, I think, what was it? The Raiders had 3 coach changes last season.
I mean, but like the story-driven element of this of college football. And how that changes so much of it. And I'm curious, I mean, this being the first UFL season, how much is this going to impact, like, having spring football? Like, growing up in Texas, I don't know if this is the same in Michigan, we had spring football. 6-man.
No, we didn't. 8-man. Not I'm aware of. At least in high school, it was a fall sport.
Or we did 7-on-7. You had 7 guys, like 7-man football. 6-man.
I think I had flag football. That was about it.
Yeah, but, I mean, you had guys who were... you could lose at your 11-man football, but you'd have 7-man teams who could win state championships in 7-man. But you get an 11-man team out there, it changes the whole dynamic of the game.
Yeah,
spring football with different
you thing.
Yeah, spring football with all these different rules. How's that going to change? And obviously you're not having NFL players come and play.
Yeah. But the NFL are scouting in the UFL,
which I think is also fascinating.
It just makes me think of like baseball with the minor leagues. You have the Toledo Mud Hens and the Lansing Lugnuts and the Grand Rapids Whitecaps. Those are the only 3 teams I know. But like that's where people like if you're in the major leagues and you're not doing well, you can get sent down to the minor leagues. Or if you're in the minor leagues, you're doing really well, you can get brought up. Like I think that's a great dynamic that could happen here.
Yeah. So what's interesting? I mean, this is something that happened with Bates, though. So Bates, this is the kicker that we were talking about. I'm on his Wikipedia page. Started out as a college soccer player.
Yep.
At Central Arkansas. Transfers to Texas State to play football as a place kicker. Then he transfers to Arkansas. So now he's in the SEC. Is named first team SEC, all SEC in his first year in the conference. Only year in the conference. Because he graduates in 2022. Signs, or goes undrafted, but signs with the Texans on July 31st.
Okay.
Gets released August 12th.
Wow.
2023. Then signs with the Michigan Panthers December 25th.
And look at him now.
I mean, he's arguably, he's one of the best kickers I've seen.
He is the best kicker in the UFL stat-wise. He is the highest percentage rate and the longest field goal kicked.
Yeah, and I mean, so it says here, during week 1, so this is March 30th, 2024, Bates made a game-winning 64-yard field goal against the St. Louis Battlehawks, the longest field goal in the history of both the UFL and its preceding league. So talking about the XFL, USFL.
Yep.
So I think the current NFL record is 67.
Yeah. But again, look at that. This man almost was 3 yards short of tying that record. And he's just in I know that there have been talks about the Lions looking at him and other NFL teams looking back at him maybe give him another year in the minor leagues, see how he pans out. And if he's still got it, we'll bring him up.
Yeah, so it does say here that he did hit a 60-yard against the Renegades on May 5th.
Okay.
But this is another interesting. The ball that he kicked on the 64-yard field goal is in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's part of the Pro Football Today exhibit. And I think that's so fascinating that are we in essence seeing a league on the same caliber of the NFL? I don't know.
I don't think it's quite there yet. But
I don't
think
it will get there. I think the NFL is going to be a mainstay.
I don't think the NFL is going to go
We could talk about the hip drop tackles, and stuff like that. How they're changing the game. Is it for better, for worse? Are we protecting players? Sure, I guess.
Reminds me of Did you ever watch that South Park episode?
Yeah, Sarcastaball. Yeah.
Anytime the NFL makes a rule change, that's where people immediately go to that's where they're going with. My issue with the hip drop tackle is how are you going to be able to call that every single time? Because what you're doing eventually is you're going to make it so it's just a game of offense. Who has the stronger offense? Because the defense isn't going to be able to do anything to stop each other. When they almost banned the tush push, I was going to throw hands. You're punishing people for being good at what they do.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a high percentage play. All these things.
Is that going because it was because of the Eagles, because of the men that they had. Jason Kelsey. You had Jalen Hurts, a highly physical quarterback, being able to push through like that. And other teams tried to do it. They just weren't as good because they didn't practice it the way that they did. And they have the manpower to do it. And now with Jason Kelsey having retired, is that going to stay with them? No idea.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many changes. And this is a whole other thing. But this is what's, I think, just so fascinating. Oh, wait. Hang on. It is... Okay. I'll come back to this in a second. But I think it is so fascinating how we are seeing this. How is it going to affect larger professional sports as a whole? I mean, we saw this with Banana Ball, right?
I wish I could go see a Banana Ball.
I want to go see a Banana Ball.
I got to go see one.
I feel like there's probably one coming up here.
There's got to be at some point. If there is, we'll.
But
go see that.
The point of sports, is there a good to sports? And maybe this is where we can kind of start formulating larger thoughts. I don't know where we're at with time. I can't see that far.
30 some odd minutes.
I feel like this might be. But the point of sports is to enjoy physical activity. As
a spectator, the point of sports.
Yes. But also you wrote in an article, and I think this is where, don't just be a spectator might be my action. But you wrote in an article that we're going to post here on our website about God giving us both a body and a soul. Mm-hmm. We're not just souls that are kind of like
the quote is from Plato, and it's basically you have education. You have education for your intellect and physical activity for your body. No, it's for both. By thinking and learning more, you use that to improve your body, and by exercising, it helps improve your mind.
No, well. I mean, and this is so true, right? The Gnostic heresy of the early Christian church denied the good of the physical body.
Yep, it was just there to be tempted.
And you saw this again with the Manichaeans, with Augustine. Denies the good of the physical body. And even in other religions, like Buddhism, they deny the good of the physical body.
Yep, you're supposed to deny yourself of all earthly pleasures.
And it's like, no, there is good in this, in physical activity, in sports. And like for a spectator, you're enjoying somebody who has reached a peak caliber of physical excellence in some cases.
Exactly.
Now, we could talk about some of those guys we saw on the baseball team. They definitely had some beer guts that could rival mine. And, you look at Babe Ruth, I mean, that man was smoking like 6 cigars a day while he was batting.
Fighting off 4 STDs.
Exactly.
But he was still knocking them.
Physical specimens.
Yeah.
Made in God's own image.
Hey, you don't have to run fast if you hit a home run each time.
No. I don't think he hit a home run each time, but anyways. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, the good of watching sports is, I think also it gives men something to aspire towards.
Exactly.
Like you look at, and I think this is so fascinating. People aspire for greatness, whether we realize it or not. Mm-hmm. Nobody wants to be mediocre. Yeah. Right? It's why, I don't play as many video games as I used to because I'm bad at them. I don't like being bad at things. I like being mediocre. So
You're not mediocre. You're bad.
I don't do things that I'm bad at.
You're trash, kid.
Funny. I don't do things that I'm bad at. In the same way, though. But I also recognize that there's good to trying something and doing something you are bad at, which is why I play disc golf.
Yeah. The idea is, learning through failure.
Yeah.
Which is something that a lot of kids these days, we could talk about that on another episode.
We might talk about that in teaching.
Yeah, when we talk about teaching. But seeing, as a spectator for these sports, it's not just, I want to watch it. The reason if I just wanted to watch a game, I could just watch it from my home, which is fine. You can make it fun. You can make an event out of it. Mm-hmm. But when we were there, it's when they say the make some noise, the make some noise signs, and it becomes an actual thing. You're participating, you're getting at what even during the NFL. At one point, Alex Anzalone was saying, when I think it was the Rams were coming, I said, guys, you were we blew the decibel level in Ford Field past it's ever been before. When you do that again, and he said, I want you to do it not just right as they're about to do the play, but when they're huddling, literally using the audience as a way, to help your home team.
Yeah, and I think it's so fascinating though. Going back to that, how sports can inspire greatness. So I, working as a high school teacher, I really do enjoy working with my students most of the time. And one of the things I like going to see their sporting events. So I was at a sporting event. There was a couple other teachers there that brought their kids, and talking to their children about baseball, which was the sport we were watching. And the kids, the next day I'm talking with the teacher, and he said, "Yeah, my kids went home and they wanted to play baseball so bad, and they just spent 2 hours watching baseball game." And it's that is what sports should drive us towards, right? In some sense, it's this is why we have the Turkey Bowl on Thanksgiving. People want to go out, they'll watch, whatever their favorite team is, and then they'll go out and play it themselves a little bit.
Yep. Or with my kids, I made them watch Remember the Titans. It was great. It was a great inspirational sports movie, but it tied into the theme of racism that they were reading about in their books. And one of the kids, who is not a sports guy at all, got really into the movie. And he's you just it's not like he's gonna go try for the football team. He's not built for that. But he's I really wanted to learn more about what happened there. Sports was a great way to communicate that message to him.
Yeah.
About overcoming the odds, overcoming struggles, and saying, we got this. We're gonna be a unit.
Yeah, and I think that this is just such a the UFL. I think is such an opportunity to expose people at a smaller level with a low cost entry into it.
I think that's exactly what it should be. It's an entry. It's a gateway drug.
It's a gateway drug. It's a gateway drug into sports.
So I think kind of our call to action for this week is going to be looking at finding out where a local sport learning event is for you, and going out and enjoying it. Whether it's a minor league baseball game, college football, whatever.
Pro baseball games right now, depending on where you are, super cheap tickets.
And the best part about a baseball game, it does not matter where you sit. Even if you're in the triple deck nosebleeds,
you're gonna have great seats.
You're gonna see the whole field. You're gonna be part of the crowd. Like it's 20. Like you can get those seats for $20.
Yeah.
Like just we're not we're not
gonna.
gonna.
I think one of the things is like I'll say it very bluntly. Get off the couch.
Get off the couch
and go see it.
Experience the world that we have. Like watching a Tigers game versus being at a Tigers game, night and day. Yeah. Go out and
go and experience it. I would also say within that, after watching it, like go and do something.
Yeah.
Like go, like if you're driven to like want to start picking up a sport or something like that, like watching disc golf videos makes me want to be a better disc golf player. I'm not good, but I want to be better. Whack. But I think that's our call to action this week.
Yeah.
I know we just had an episode yesterday, but maybe a deeper reflection on how you are trying to go deeper in your life.
Yeah. So, like I talked about on the last episode, I read Arnold Schwarzenegger's book, Be Useful. And one of the things that I talked about, and I'm going to talk about this in an article that we'll be posting. I've been really intentional about going to the gym. It has been, like you said, getting your butt off the couch. Like that was the thing that I needed to do to help my mind. Was like I need to be doing something. Like there were days where I was just like I would forget to eat because I was just so bummed out, and I was like I don't know what to do. Nothing sounds fun. So the idea, my first thought was literally saw the memes of like depression is just free pre-workout, and I was like whatever, and it's like you know what, I'm gonna go to the gym. Even if I'm just feeling pain at the end of it because I'm sore and tired, at least I'm feeling something and I'm doing something. And
I will say, having seen you in these last few years and months, the gym has done wonders for your mental health.
It really has. It's become my sanctuary. It's a place where I can go, even if I see a student there and it's a little weird. I just go, I put my headphones in, I can listen to music, I can listen to an audiobook, a podcast, whatever, and I just go. And honestly, the biggest thing has been like literally seeing a small transformation in my body. It's just small things, but like physically being able to see the differences. And then in the numbers where I'm tracking it, I use the pump, an app from Arnold and his crew to help track my workouts and set it up for me. Just seeing like, wow, I lifted 5 more pounds this week on this exercise, or I lifted 47,000 pounds last week. I got 48,000 pounds this week. I did a couple extra reps. Like just seeing those numbers go up. It does wonders for like I feel like I'm accomplishing something, even if it's something small. And when you accomplish something, that's when things start to change. And
yeah,
it snowballs into a bigger thing. So that's how I've been going deeper, is being really intentional, really trying to go deeper and like try to get that extra rep in. Try to put the extra 5 pounds on, even if it sucks.
Yeah, talking about care for the body, I think I'll go with care for the soul with mine. One of the things is with my master's program, I took a class on virtue. And I really started to reflect on how can I grow as a human person in virtue. And maybe I'll write an article or we'll have a longer episode on virtue, living the virtuous life. But one of the things is like taking that self-examination of in the stories in my life, in the narratives in my life, how have I not been a virtuous person in whatever area? I chose a virtue of humility was what I wanted to focus on. And just on reflecting on last few years, last few months, I was like, damn, I'm kind of a jerk sometimes. Not always the most humble.
I don't want to agree with you because it seems mean, but yeah.
No, I am. And it's okay to admit that. But then like setting forth a plan of like, okay, how am I going to be different? Like I talked about a plan for life, but also a plan for growing in virtue. You want to be disciplined, great. Establish a plan for life. You want to be virtuous? How are you going to take small actions to change the narrative of your less than virtuous life? So for me, it was something very simple. It was just like shutting up, not speaking. I don't always have to be a part of a conversation.
Yeah.
Keeping my inner voice to myself.
We were given 2 ears in one mouth for a reason. That whole thing.
But then also like physically humiliating myself. Obviously, being a teacher is a great way to do that. But then going to the gym, going out and exercising, doing things that are hard so I can recognize my own limitations and grow and say, I'm not perfect. And so when I am a jerk, suddenly it's a call back to something I need to work on. And so I think that's my way I'm going deeper is self-examination of what are areas of my life I need to grow in, and what's a plan I can establish to grow in them. So
I dig it.
Yeah. So we appreciate you guys joining us again for this conversation. We're not experts in any of this.
We are aggressively average, as I've said before.
We have aggressively average, just two average Joes living a very average life in an average Midwestern state.
Just trying to find the ordinary in life and find it to be extraordinary in different ways.
Exactly. So, like I said, we appreciate you guys joining us. We hope you'll join us next time when we talk about...
We did discuss this ahead of time. Movies.
Yeah, movies. Great.
I like movies.
What if we talk about movies?
We talked about getting our butt off the couch. Now let's sit our butts down on the couch.
Now let's sit our butts on the couch. We're going to watch. It's going to be a 10-hour episode.
Don't say that. It'll be the same way.
Cheers.
Sláinte.